Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. This is it.
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hot Body Dawson. Pow, pow, pow.
I am Sam Nifty Delaney. So what?
Welcome along. It's the Monday episode, and you get it on a Sunday evening if you're an IFS subscriber. Why aren't you? I was going to say something. We've just been talking about things we were going to talk about, and we'd forgot.
We were talking about our dinners.
I just thought about... we talked about our dinners.
And we'll
go over our dinners again if you want.
With autumn setting in, although it's not... It's fucking boiling hot here.
Summer's back.
I thought this morning, it's kind of September. Maybe it's time to do a roast tonight with all the trimmings, just like we were psychiatric patients at Christmas in Broadmoor. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. So I planned a roast, a veggie roast, obviously, and I've just made it. It was delicious. I felt like I hadn't had a roast in ages. It's not the sort of thing you have over summer, generally speaking, is it?
No.
I was particularly delighted with the gravy I made. In fact, it's not a Life Logistics episode, but I'm going to tell you, I think I've outlined my homemade gravy recipe on this podcast before, so I won't bore you with all the details of it, but it does require some dark brown liquid.
I guess this would be a vegetarian gravy, won't it?
Vegetarian, but it's knockout, and it's very easy to make into meat one, because if you do the same thing if you're making a meat one, you just add in the juices from the roasting tin at the end, meat juice. And I like, so you roast a load of vegetables with herbs and garlic and salt and pepper and all of that until they're nice and soft. You get them out, you put them on the hob, you chuck in a bit of flour to thicken it. And then what you do is you take, usually it would be either some Worcester sauce or some Henderson sauce, I think works very well, which is the Sheffield.
Relish. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, it's just the Sheffield sauce. Or you could put in balsamic vinegar if you're that way. Right. Anything that's dark, it makes it go dark, you see. Yeah. And then after that, you might add a little bit of boiled water, maybe even half a stock cube as well, just to punch it up a bit. And then if you're a meat eater, add the juices from the pan. Bang, lovely gravy. And then you pour it through a sieve into a bowl. Then you've got the pure gravy. Pour that into the jug.
Yeah.
Make it before time and just warm it up for a minute in the microwave before serving if you want.
Brilliant.
It's
do you have a gravy?
Great.
Do you have a gravy boat?
Yeah,
in your home?
I do. It's a showstopper, mate. Yeah. And but I started making it and I don't have any brown liquid. No Worcester sauce, no Henderson's relish, not even some balsamic vinegar. So what I've done is I thought, well, I need some sort of liquid that is very dark. Fucking found some soy sauce, chuck that in. It was a game changer.
Yeah?
Okay, real depth, both in colour and flavour.
Nice.
Don't worry, it doesn't make your roast, your traditional British roast, turn like into a Chinese, right? Which, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but, I'm not crossing...
I'd welcome that.
I'm not crossing cultural borders here. It's nice because it's basic. What soy sauce is, it's what your Chinese use instead of salt. It's just quite a salty sauce. It is. And that's welcome in a gravy. And then you've added it to the stock and the vegetables and possibly your meat juices. It's fucking knockout. And Genius. it makes the gravy, once you've sieved it through, it makes the gravy as it poured over the vegetables. And I've made a veggie toad in a hole and roasted potatoes and all that. As you pour it over, it looks just like the gravy did in those gravy adverts that hypnotised us when we were kids. The
Bisto ones.
Linda Bellingham. Or Bisto or Oxo, either of them. I think Oxo family were better on it. Linda Bellingham being sort of subtly titillating.
A bit milfy.
The way they poured it, like it was so. I mean, of course, it wasn't gravy. I don't know what it was, but they have home economists designing stuff to make it look extra delicious. So I don't know what they used, but my gravy that I made with soy sauce tonight really looked like something from an advert. It was, thick and brown and velvety, mate.
Do you feel as though you've leapt into a new dimension here? There's no going back.
Well, I feel that, we talked about autumn last week on I think it was on the live stream. So not everyone had heard it, but you made your feelings clear on autumn. And I think that you've got a, very very good point of view on autumn is you think that it's enshrouded by bullshit. Too much bullshit surrounds autumn.
It's full of shit, autumn.
Autumn's got great PR. I don't know who they use for their PR, but they're investing a lot in a top PR consultancy to really punch up their image for what is, as you rightly say, a fleeting couple of weeks between summer and winter.
10 days, 2 weeks at the most, and then it turns to winter pretty quickly.
But with school starting again this week, which of course we are both delighted by, and I'm sure all our fellow parents listening are, you start thinking of autumnal things, and one of them's roasts. And now I've created a new version of my gravy, and I think that once the weather cools, which I think it will in a couple of weeks, that'll be getting pulled out quite a lot, mate. I'm just having a glass of Prosecco here as well. That's Prosecco without the boozing.
That's living all right.
Sort of tastes like Lucozade, to be honest, but I quite like it.
Well, nothing wrong with Lucozade, mate.
No.
Okay. Yeah, well, the summer is back, as we said. It's going to be, I don't know about down south, but up here it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
All week, I think. So the kids are back at school. We'll have a lot of episodes in the bank at the start of the week. So I've got to take my daughter back to Scotland, to the University of Scotland, where she's going back this week. So after that, the hammock's going to be out, I think.
Yeah.
The hammock is going to be out. I was in the hammock this afternoon and I discovered that it seems that I have an apple tree in the garden.
What, you didn't know that?
I had
You've
no
lived
knowledge
there
of
for
it.
about 2 years.
This is my second summer in this house. And I had no knowledge there was an apple tree there. There was no apples on it last year, put it that way. I would have known. I would have seen them. And there's like fucking 5 or 6 apples on the cunt out there today.
Wow.
Red apples. Nice red apples.
Ooh.
Me and my daughter have had one each. Very tasty. So
red apples can sometimes be quite bitter. They look tasty, but they're more bitter than a green apple generally.
These were all right. I generally prefer a red apple to a green apple. I think a green apple is a child's apple.
Yeah, but fucking hell, mate. There's like a load of different types of green apple.
Green apples that you make pies with, Bramleys, I think they're called.
Cooking apples.
Cooking apples. They're green, but you don't eat them. But
they're sour.
Golden Delicious.
Granny Smith's.
Granny Smith. Golden Delicious is the green one, isn't it? That's the child's apple.
I don't like. They're too soft. I like a Cox's. Mate, do you know what a luxury apple is? Pink Lady. Pink
Lady's a good apple.
Nice and sweet, but
not
firm.
cheap though. Not cheap either.
No, as I say, it's a luxury apple.
Treat yourself.
Rich man's apple.
Branson apple.
I'm not going to throw someone on the bus. I won't name them. But I was starting a radio show once many years ago, and I had a meeting with the production team, a couple of young lads, like a week or two before it started to prepare. And I think it was a run over summer. And I said, okay, we've got 12 episodes to fill. What we need is a few regular items. Anything you want, anything goes. What I would like to challenge you two to do is next time we meet, have 20 ideas, right? Ooh. And the reason I say 20, right, is because that's encouraging you to just write any old shit down, which is what I want you to do. If I say 4 ideas, you're going to have to really overthink them and make sure they're perfect. But once you realise it's 20, you're like, literally, you'll write anything down. And I quite like that because you'll just write anything that sounds quite good in one line. So don't only write them in one line. Don't pad them out. Just give us the title. And then I said, if we all do that, it
sounds like one of the things that one of them business books, how to do business good.
Yeah, but I didn't. This is just. Maybe I will do my own business book one day. This is just Delaney thinking, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, what I want. Some people would say we want real quality, but with me, it's like I just want quantity. In fact, I actively don't want quality. Right? It's not my style. Quality is
not quality.
Quality is not my style. Right?
No, that's correct.
Yes. So I said 60 ideas, right? We only need about 6. So in those 60 ideas, if we have 1/10 of them are half decent and we can flesh them out, we're fucking laughing, lads, right? So they go, okay. And I did that whole kind of, and remember, right? There's no fucking wrong. Don't for a moment think anything you can say is going to be wrong.
There's no such thing as a bad idea.
Yeah, all that shit.
I defy you to prove otherwise.
Yeah, and one of them did, because we came back and I said, right, let's hear the ideas. And I was thinking the ones at the top of their list will be their good ones.
Yeah.
And then as we get down, we'll get to the shit ones, and that's fine. It was the same on my list. But I must have been in a bad mood because the senior one of the two, I said, right, go on, you go first. Don't be shy, come on. And he's gone, right, first one, how do you like them apples? And I was like, what? How do you like them apples? But I think he said them apples, right? And I went, well, what's that? And he went, I don't really know. You said we didn't have to think it through. I'm just thinking maybe you review a different apple each week on air. I know, mate. That is a shit idea. And he went, I thought you said there were no shit ideas. So I said, well, that's what I thought. But here we are, mate. But now, years later, I'm sat here with you thinking, yeah, I could review an apple on this podcast, no problem.
I'm wondering whether we could do another one of these things on the Turbo where we have a showdown and vote.
Like a fruit vote. I think we were going to do that once. I wonder what would win in an apple. Do you remember once, years ago on this podcast, I actually tried a pear, not on air, but literally just before we came on air, and I'd never tried a pear before.
A non-air pear.
It was a non-air pear. But I think we filled a whole episode with it because we started recording and I revealed that I'd just tasted a pear for the first time in my life. Yeah. And it was a revelation. I loved it. And you told me that you'd been into pears for years. And I think that when I was a kid, I looked at pears with suspicion. I thought households were either apple households or pear households.
Right. Well,
and our household was an apple household. And therefore I thought, yeah, no, but you know, like, we've talked about this before. The choices, the consumer choices in your house when you're a kid, like, are really take on a huge amount of significance. And when you go and stay over at other kids' houses and they have... I remember just being... We had Crest toothpaste. I remember being astonished that my best mate's house had Colgate toothpaste. But my mum encouraged a kind of a weird snobbery about it. Okay, you know, at their house, they don't have the same soap as us. They got a different one. What is it? What's it look like? I think it's called pears. Oh, no.
Jesus.
Disgusting. Right. Common.
It's like
common soap.
Some kids were banned from watching ITV, weren't they? Famously.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Could only watch the BBC.
Yeah. There was a...
Are you tapping something, Sam?
Just some what I'm actually doing is moving around a small notepad on my desk.
Okay.
Just moving it around with my fingers. Yeah.
That's fine.
I'll stop that now. There was a Christmas Carol that was bastardised to that effect, wasn't there? When shepherds washed their socks by night whilst watching BBC, the angel of the Lord came down and switched to ITV.
Never heard that before. I was going to say,
I had cousins like that. I had cousins. I had two cousins, they're twin girls, and they were a couple of years below me at school, right, at my primary school. And sometimes if my mum was unable to pick me up, right, she'd get my aunt to, so I'd go home with them. And they were quite posh, and they weren't allowed... Not only were they not allowed to watch ITV, they weren't even allowed to watch the whole of... we didn't call it CBBC at the time, or CBBC, but the whole thing that started at, what did it start, like 3:45,
wasn't it? Yeah,
right, and then it'd go on till about 5:30 or something, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you were the same. Well, like we talked about, in our houses, the telly was on 100% of the time. Sometimes even when no one was in. Leave it on, keep the dog company.
Or even when nothing was on, like when the test card was on, you'd sit and have the test card on.
It keeps the dog company. If we all go out for the day, dog gets bored. Leave the telly on for it. It likes it. It likes it.
Leave the telly on for the dog. I've had Sky Sports News on this week because he likes the Deadline Day drama.
Oh, he gets really excited, yeah. Who doesn't? Yeah. So, but at this house, and my cousins, I'd always be like, they'd go like, your auntie's, you got to go home with the twins today. My mum would go, you got to go home with the twins today because I'm not going to be able to get away from work to pick you up. Usually she'd pick me up and I'd go to her office, right, to Science Centre. And I'd be like this, oh, no. I mean, my auntie was really nice, and I liked the twins as well, although obviously when you're a young boy hanging around with two girls who are 2 years younger than you, it's like,
I got confused. I thought they were the twins from the Sid James Budgerigar video that we covered a while ago.
Yeah, the twins. Yeah. The funny thing is, he refers to them as the twins in that. And in my family, these two sisters, still to this day, like they're in their 40s now, that we only refer to them as the twins.
Right.
Almost gives them a bit of a sinister air if people don't know them.
Yeah.
They're perfectly lovely ladies. But anyway, I'd go, oh, we've got to go to the twins. I mean, can't I go to one of my mates' houses? And she'd go like, well, no, but I've called their mums and they can't have you today or whatever. You upset them last time with your endless jabber. And so they said they don't want you there. They're all right, but the dad, he just got in from his shift, he'd done a night shift, and he said all he could hear was you banging on about bollocks, and they don't want you round. The dad, about apples apparently, and the dad's just saying, who was that little fringe member out here? I don't want him coming again. Drove me up the wall with all that apple chat. Anyway, so they go, you got to go to twins, and I would know two things, because they were a bit posher than us, right? One, not only could they not watch ITV, they had it. There were certain shows they couldn't watch on the beat. It was basically like you can't watch that much TV, and so they were allowed to watch. Go on, you'll be able to guess. Guess what they were allowed to watch?
Blue Peter.
Fucking right, Blue Peter, right?
Jesus Christ.
And obviously we've done deep dives on John Noakes and whatnot, so it's not like we're completely averse to Blue Peter, Sarah Green, Janet Ellis, some of the biggest persons of interest on this podcast are
got some
graduates.
Sarah Green information coming up later on as well.
Oh, good.
For now, I'll hold on to that.
There are graduates of Blue Peter, but when you've got the whole thing, you might have missed out on Penelope Pitstop, Top Cat, in later years, Press Gang, certainly Grange Hill, which was, I think objectively everyone knows that was the best of all of them, right? You miss all of this, but you can watch fucking Blue Peter, right? Which is like saying you can just have a piece of bread and butter, right? Maybe not even butter, right? No sweets, no crisps, nothing like that. And that was the other thing about their house, was they would be given like healthy snacks. So you come in and I was used every day after school. I'd be able to go to the sweet shop, Hardin's, and I could get a bag of sweets every day, right? Yeah. And they were like,
a bag of sweets, is that like a mix-up?
Like
20 pence mix-up?
Yeah, so I'd choose them.
Yeah.
But I'd have a little paper bag, and there'd be like, a few penny sweets in them every day. And I'd just eat them all immediately. I mean, I'd be eating them. The bag would be practically gone by the time I walked out the door of the shop, right? But the vibe at my cousin's house was a bit more like, you've got this tube of fruit pastels, yeah? And if you're good, each day after school, you can have one each.
Fucking hell.
And that'll last us the week. And if you want something to eat when you're watching Blue Peter, right, we're going to chop you up some fucking carrots and cucumber. And I would be like...
God, not even fruit, not even grapes.
No, I'd be like, this is a fucking joke.
This is like fucking prison.
That's what I felt like.
Jalapeño.
Here's a brief but annoying message to let you know that you wouldn't be hearing this brief but annoying message if you were a subscriber to our Iron Filing Society Patreon offering.
For the price of a pint and a St. Clement's each month, you can get up to 4 episodes a week, 9 months before the rest of the world gets them. Early access to regular episodes, lots of other marvellous benefits, and there's absolutely no adverts or brief but annoying messages like this that will get right on your tits.
Find out more and subscribe now at tftimemachine.com/ironfilings.
Jalapeño. Jalapeño.
But it was good because it made me realise how my own house, although the doors were hanging off the hinges, there was no central heating and whatnot, right, it was like a Shangri-La in many ways. Do you know what I mean? It was like Disneyland. And one time, my mum loves fucking talking about this, right? Because she obviously, she'd be like, oh yeah, you were never allowed anything round that house, were you? And I said no. And then one time they had to come to our house, and they must have fucking been right down low on the list, right? They must have been like, oh, fucking hell, we're going to have to send them home with Sam, right? They must have asked every fucker in the school first, right? So they come back to my house, and obviously they've got to my house, the telly's on, and my mum just gives it, there you go, sit in front of that. I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And they couldn't believe it. They were like looking over both shoulders like, what?
Watch what you want.
Why is no
Magpie,
one?
if you want.
Why is no one trying to monitor us? Why are we allowed to do this? And I'd be like sitting back going, "Don't worry, welcome to my world. I know you're probably thinking this is odd, but trust me, you'll get used to it very fucking quick. Sit back and relax. And let me tell you, it doesn't end there. I think you're going to like a little surprise any moment now, because I would know that my mum would be bringing in a heavily sugary snack for us, right? And there's this one time, it's legendary still, she came back in, and my cousins, these two girls, they're like very little, like small, dainty.
From all the carrots.
And they're very dainty. They're full of carrots, right? And she's come in with a whole fucking massive long box of Cadbury's chocolate fingers, right?
Oh.
And my mum just opened it and just slung it on the coffee table in front of us, go, there you go. And then just walks out again. And again, they're like looking over both shoulders, like, what? Why have they just left these here? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you better get stuck into them quick before the dog has them.
I'm imagining you in that scenario, like that time Bart Simpson was dressed up as Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, it was like that.
He's smoking a jacket on and his bubble pipe in his mouth.
Ladies, you have not lived. Today is the day you begin to truly live. Do you know what they are? No, they're fucking Cadbury's chocolate fingers. Put one in your mouth and life will never be the same again. Anyway, they couldn't believe it, and they started slow. But in the end, when they realised, fuck me, there are no rules here. We're watching fucking Magpie and eating chocolate fingers, and there's no adult here to stop us. They ate fucking loads, and they both vomited.
They were sick.
They both were sick, and my mum was so proud. She was very close to my aunt, and she absolutely loved her. They were good mates, and my aunt was really nice, but she just had a different approach. And obviously, my mum sort of thought it was funny. She didn't feel guilty. She thought it was really funny that she'd overfed. Like, it's not her sister, by the way. It was my dad's sister, but they were still mates.
All right.
And she just thought it was really funny that she'd overfed her daughters, because she knew how prissy they were, or like the whole family was. So she thought it was really funny that they had to, that she overfed them with Cadbury's fingers and they threw up. Just a quick other on my cousins. They are quite legends, actually. I might have told you this before, but one of them, right, years ago, I was buying a house and the estate agent was this geezer. I won't name him, right? Let's say his name was Robert, right? And we're talking and he mentioned what school he went to, right? And I said, my cousins went to that school. And he said, what are their names? And I said, no, said twins. And he straight away went, oh, yeah, of course I know the twins. Wow, they were legendary. They were in my year, right? They're both very beautiful, right? So if you see them, you know, they're identical and they're very beautiful, right? And so he was like, wow, they're your cousins. Wow, that's amazing. And so I texted them both, or one of them, and I go, well, I'm dealing with this geezer. Robert says he went to school with you. Give us the lowdown, right? Now, because they're a lot of twins have, they're born very premature, and as a result, sometimes they have certain health issues. And in the case of my cousins, they are allergic to fucking everything, right?
Right.
And obviously it goes out saying they're both fucking heavily allergic to peanuts, yeah?
Oh, right,
and they tell me a story that this geezer, Robert, he had a massive crush on one of the two twins for the whole of school. And,
how can you have if they're identical, how can you have a crush on just one of them?
I know. Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of extra spin-off stories about their dealings with boyfriends. Let's just say a lot of boyfriends have given it the whole, oh, sorry, I got you muddled up.
Oh.
That's why I walked in on you in the shower, all that bollocks, right? Anyway, he's fancied her for like the whole 5 years, and she's given him the knockback quite a lot, and he's in the friend zone and he thinks it's never going to happen until, they're leaving fifth year and it's the 5th year prom. And she's pissed and he's a bit pissed. And she's finally thought, oh, fuck it. I'm going to snog him. It's the last day. He's been sort of wanting this for years. So we're leaving. Fine. I don't want to say it was a pity snog, but
feels like
whatever.
It.
I don't know what her thinking was really, but I think that she was like, all right. And he couldn't believe it. This is like 5 years worth of dreams come true, right? But he's wearing braces, right? He's still got braces on, right? Sometimes you're wearing them right into the 5th year. And he kisses her in the corner of the prom. And about 3 seconds into the kiss of him thinking, I can't believe this. I can't believe this is actually happening. This is the best moment of my whole life. He just hears a choking sound, right? And she pulls away, right? And her fucking whole head has fucking blown up like a Belisha beacon. Oh, God. And she can't breathe. And he goes, what's happening? What's happening? And her sister runs over and goes, what the fuck have you done to her? And he goes, I don't know. And she was saying, did you kiss her? And he goes, yeah. And he went, have you let her eat peanuts? He went, of course I haven't let her eat peanuts. And then he suddenly goes, oh, hang on a minute. And before coming out, he'd had a fucking peanut butter sandwich. And all the fucking and there was traces. You know, you only needs like a bit of peanut dust to set someone off who's got a peanut allergy. Yeah. And there was remnants, right? Remnants of peanut butter in his braces. And so as soon as they'd kissed, that was it. It was the kiss that almost killed her. Ambulance turns up at the prom. She's rushed off to fucking A&E. They give her the epi and all that stuff. And luckily she lives. But he's, for the rest of his life, thinking, that was the big opportunity I'd waited for my whole life. And after 3 seconds, it almost ended in the death of my crush.
The death of my love. Yeah. Fucking hell, Shakespearean, that.
Yeah, or like an old country and western song.
That as well.
Yeah.
So did he turn out to be a good estate agent?
He was actually a really nice bloke. And he was a good estate agent. And so all's well that ends well. I think he's pretty happy now. Last I heard of him, he was married with a couple of kids and perfectly happy. My cousin's very happy too. And so I think all's well that ends well. But at the time, must have been terrible.
Yeah. Are you a good estate agent, listeners? Anyone out there a good estate agent? Get in touch.
Yeah, some of them
a good
are
loan
right.
shark. Tell us why you're...
Some of them are all right. What did you have news about?
We're about out of time. Oh, I was going to say.
Yeah.
I know you've got something you wanted to say, but we'll save it for Friday.
No, I've got to tell you this one or I'll forget.
You've got... All right, then go on.
Well, you go first.
No, I was just going to add, just thinking about Golden Delicious apples.
Oh, yeah.
The child's apple. And I think that's because the only good use for Golden Delicious is as the middle of a toffee apple.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Am I thinking right that Golden Delicious are quite a pale green?
Yeah.
And they're softish because I like a good crunch to my apple.
They've got a bit of crunch about them, I think.
I don't like the crunchiest ones, the very bright green ones with a tough skin that are completely solid bright
they're
green.
Like Granny Smiths.
They're Granny Smiths. For me, they're too tough.
Yeah.
And that's why I like either a Cox's or if I've got a few quid, if it's been a good month and I've got a bit of extra walking around money, I'll treat myself to a Pink Lady, right? For me, that's the right amount of crunch and crisp in an apple.
Do you ever buy an individual Pink Lady that comes in the net?
Well, in London, very often I find myself walking down a street market and I'll see like an old lady, Cockney lady selling apples, and I'll go, hello, darling, and I'll pick an apple up off of her stall and I'll throw it up, bounce it off my forearm, catch it, take a bite, and give her a wink. And she's like, fine with that. That's just the way apples are bought and consumed in London. Sort of like it's a tradition. We don't often pay. And
you'll kind of jump up and click your heels together as you go.
Yeah. Off. And she goes, oh, you cheeky cunt. And I'll go, ha ha. See ya, be lucky. And that's just
lucky, darling.
That's the way apple exchanges play out. No, just quickly, I was in the Isle of Wight and I've been talking a lot recently about McDonald's parties. We talked about McDonald's a lot recently on the podcast and what a big deal having a McDonald's party was when you were a kid. I never personally had one, but you do know that if someone at school says they're having a McDonald's party, it's a big deal, right? And you're really fucking hoping to be on the guest list. So the one that me and my mum always talk about is a guy, again, I've got to start changing names, so I'm always getting myself in trouble. Let's say his name was...
Robert.
Yeah. Another geezer called Robert, but not the estate agent. Robert. Right. He's had a McDonald's party, and I wasn't close friends with him, so I wasn't confident I'd get invited, but I did. and it was going well. But there was another kid there. Let's call him, I don't know, Mark, right? And he was one of those kids. He was no trouble. He wasn't a bully or anything like that. But he was volatile, emotionally volatile. So he'd be the sort of kid at school who'd just lose his rag with the teacher and throw something, but completely out of the blue for no sort of discernible reason. So you knew he had a few emotional issues, but it was fine. But I think he basically became overwhelmed by intense situations, and basically he was invited unexpectedly, perhaps as a late call up to this McDonald's party, and he just he couldn't cope. And we got there, and all the singing and the shouting and the fucking madness and the excitement of being at McDonald's, and everyone putting their orders in. You know, the mum comes and goes, what sort of burger do you want, or whatever. And it's a lot. And he's lost it and started crying and started shouting and just kicking off. And the parents of the birthday boy couldn't really control him because they had a lot of kids there. And he's run away from the party, right? But he stayed within the confines of the McDonald's. The party was going on upstairs, but it was a large McDonald's, and he's run downstairs and he's gone feral. He's gone wild, like a stray man of McDonald's, basically, right? And the parents, there's just two parents, and we can't fucking control this. As long as he doesn't leave the McDonald's, which we don't think he's going to, we're just going to have to leave him to it, right? And he was running and he was hiding, and then he'd pop out and shout and swear, and then he'd disappear again. And that was that. And we all had a laugh about it, because, you know, it's like you're unsympathetic about things like that when you're a kid. You just think, he's gone mad, right? Yeah. And then
of course,
we
kids like that, it turns out they've got like issues. Like
exactly. They've got issues, but we didn't know that at the time. So
that
at the
was
time,
thing then. No.
You just think, he's gone mental. And it was, I mean, definitely looking back, he had some issues that nowadays everyone would have been more sensitive about. So we looked out the window. It's like I was picking up tabs, saying, I've had a bit dull. When was my mum coming? So I look out the window, I see my mum coming down the high street, and I'm like, brilliant, my mum's here. I'm about 9, 10, right? So I go to the top of the stairs, and I look down at the front doors, waiting for my mum to come in. My mum comes through the double doors of this McDonald's, starts walking towards the stairs, sees me, gives me a big smile, waves. I wave back, hello, mum. I had a quarter pounder with cheese, and now I'm coming home with you. Right, really excited, brilliant day. And at that moment, almost in my mind, it happened in slow motion. I see this kid, Mark. And by the way, I forgot to crucial. Robert. No, Robert was the kid whose birthday it was. Mark's the one who's gone feral.
Okay.
Right, Mark. By the way, crucial bit of information that I forgot to tell you. In terms of illustrating his character, he was the kid, and a lot of schools have them, who on school photo day, class photo day, would always come in wearing a bow tie, right?
Right.
And also, if he came to a birthday party, would always come wearing a bow tie. Right. Which I can't tell you. I don't know. At the time, I probably thought that's a bit weird. Now I look back and I've got nothing but respect for that. I think it's a superb touch for a kid to do, and I would love it if I could convince my kid to do it, but he never would.
If it was his own choice, if he was dressed up like that,
I don't know if it was his own choice, but I kind of think it was because he was an eccentric.
Be like a religious thing, maybe.
School photo, is it? Right. Get the bow tie out. Right, and anyway, he's emerged suddenly from like underneath a table, and he's run up behind my mum, who he's seen. He knew it was my mum. He's seen me waving at her and her waving back, and I remember the look on his face. He had that weird face where a kid, like in concentration, puts their tongue between their teeth like this. You can see, right? I can remember it because it was such a vivid memory. And he runs up behind my mum, and I'm shouting, "Oi!" because I can see he's approaching her to commit a terrible act. And do you know what he did? He booted my mum up her ass.
Fucking hell.
And I saw red, mate. I went hysterical with rage. I came down the stairs like, fuck it. I didn't get near him. Loads of people intervened. My mum intervened. My mum seemed to be just laughing. She found it funny, right? But it's the sort of thing she finds funny, right? And I was fucking livid, and I've never forgiven that cunt. And I tell you what, even if I believe he lives in the Far East now, not London, but in the Far East of the planet. But if he ever fucking shows his face around here again, he's getting a dry slap, because you don't kick someone else's mum up the arse at a McDonald's birthday party.
Yeah.
By the way, that was not the story that I was going to tell you. We were talking about that, me and my mum reminiscing, and she told me that Rod, the osteopath, right, her husband, who's really weird. He kind of pretends he doesn't know what McDonald's is as part of his
it's
kind
now,
of...
It's now too late to change his name on this podcast.
Yeah, way too late. She told me that his son had a McDonald's party once when he was about 10. I was mates with his son, but I didn't go to this party. And he walked in, Rod, and he'd never been in a McDonald's before, but his son had basically convinced him to do a McDonald's party, but Rod didn't know how they operated. And he had 10 kids with him, and he walked in with all these 10 kids, and at a McDonald's party, you're getting excited, like, what are you going to have? What are you going to have? I've got a cheeseburger. I've got a Big Mac. Da, da. He walked straight up to the counter of all these kids with him, and without asking them anything, he just went straight up and he said, he quietly examined the menu above the counter, and then he just turned to the woman. He went, 10 egg McMuffins, please. And his kid was like, what? 10 egg McMuffins? I've looked at the menu. They're the ones that seem the most reasonably priced. None of you are going to finish one of those Big Mac things, so it'd be a complete waste. There'd be a load of half-eaten Big Macs, whatever that is, everywhere. They look enormous. No, I think it's very sensible. 10 egg McMuffins. And they made him 10 egg McMuffins, no chips, nothing else, just dished them out, the kids. Worst McDonald's party ever. And he admitted that to my mum not that long ago. And because of the way my mum is, she just was like, she had a go at him. This is something that probably happened in 1983. She's like, you stupid fucking cunt. Who the fuck turns up at a fucking McDonald's at a kid's party and orders 10 fucking egg McMuffins? He's like, well, don't start on me now. I mean, it was a long time ago.
What's done is done.
Out of order, though, is it? I couldn't stop laughing at that. 10 egg McMuffins. Amazing. Fuck me.
Yeah, standard Rod McDonald stuff there. All right, then. That's the episode. Prediction update. We got 3 points each. That's it. So
what about that metal cunt?
Yeah, 3.
Oh, three of us got 3
everything.
Points.
Human, machine, all got 3 points. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we're no further forward. All right. Yeah. All right. That's it from this, and we'll be back throughout the week. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Goodbye.